another business and property entrepreneur podcast. In this session, we're going straight into the 101 of successful project management, construction projects. This is one of the things that I don't really see a lot online. Now, we've got someone super awesome, been a tribe member in Real Life Tribe since 2019, I remember, start off. Yeah, so awesome. Adam, you've been on Transformational Tuesday because you've already built a multi-million pound property portfolio. I think, how many businesses now? 1, 2, 3.
About 6 at the minute. I try and win them back every now and again. We get too many.
Yeah, 6 businesses. Yeah, rocking and rolling, including a multi-million pound construction business, yeah, which you've kind of like evolved over time, haven't you?
Oh yeah, there's been many different phases and pivots in that business, as with all good businesses, eh?
Yeah, good. So look, in this session, we're going to go deep into basically what you guys need. Yeah, so if you're on here, give us a quick shout. I'm just trying to see where this bloody thing is. Are we live yet? Where are we? Yeah, let's have a look, see what's happening. Okay. So give us a comment if you guys can see us online. Just trying to figure out where we are on this thing. And yeah, we should be live now, I think.
There we go.
People on. Well, you've seen it? Yes, Mason. Yes, hello. Okay, you're on YouTube. Where are we on Facebook? I can't see us on Facebook. But good to see everyone here. Let us know where you're from, what platform you're on, and let's get this thing chopping. So just need to make sure we are on this Facebook thing here. Yeah, I don't see us, Adam. But anyway, we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, so let's get straight into it, Adam, because I don't think we need to do too much of a big introduction here. Basically, we want to add as much value as possible for you guys listening to this, which is about project management. So look, Adam, we've been just having a chat before, and obviously one of the reasons we wanted to come on here is because we keep hearing these stories, you know, from two people who are heavily involved in not just our own projects, but other people's projects. We see a lot of terrible things that are happening. People are having projects not finished on time, not on budget, and worse still, sometimes like contractors just leaving. Yeah, and I was in this situation as well, leaving the job unfinished. So then we have to bring someone like Adam in, you know, that if we didn't start with you, because on other jobs, we obviously had you the whole way through from start to finish. But on jobs where that wasn't the case, we had to then bring you in to basically clean up someone else's mess, you know, because we've heard recently as well, I say recently, I'm talking about the last 12 months, quite a few kind of contractors and builders, they've gone into either liquidation, calling it voluntary liquidation, but really they're forced to go into it because they're not managing it properly as a business. Yeah, so what are some things that people should be looking out for, Adam, when they're in the kind of, let's say, the pre-build phase? You're obviously talking to and, you know, trying to figure out, is this the person that should be doing my construction project, basically?
That's a really good question on it. So one of the things I always like to check is, first and foremost, the most important question is, have you ever done a HMO? Because there's so many builders, Mark, when you say, I'm going to do a HMO, they go, yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you need. And half the time they don't. All they're thinking of is, I've got to put locks on the doors rather than just a front door. That's all they know. Or they might have to add a few bathrooms. They don't know the regs. They don't know the fire regs, the HMO regs. And then aside from that, they don't know what rents. It's all well and good building to spec, but if it looks like crap and it's not functional for tenants, it's worth nothing really, is it? So yeah, the first one is always, have they done HMOs? And if so, how many?
Yeah.
So that's a big factor.
And like, how far would you go when it comes to like, can I see another project? Can I talk to another investor or someone who's you've done projects for? Like, how far would you go on that?
I really want to go see the one they're working on now, because if they're a HMO builder, they're going to have a constant flow, because there's a lot of work out there for this kind of, you know, this kind of builder. They're not scarce. So I want to see the latest one they're doing. And in an ideal world, if I can, the last one they did that's running, because you're really going to know the quality mark once it's been running for 3 to 6 months, you're going to see is it falling to bits, is it cracking everywhere, are there leak stains everywhere? You know, you're going to see all of this in the flesh. Because, you know, and I know, a brand new HMO, generally, as long as it's decorated right and it's done right, to a good standard, looks great regardless. Doesn't mean it's going to continue looking great down the line, though. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up on. They look shiny and beautiful when they're finished, hand the keys over, everything's great. And then 6 months down the line, it's absolutely falling to bits. There's rotten floors from leaks from the start. You know, digging stuff up, ripping rooms out. Oh, it's horrendous.
Yeah, because it, like you say, actually, when the project's finished, I mean, this never happened on one of my projects, but I'll tell you about one of my projects in a minute. But like another kind of associate, let's say, in the building trade was saying that he was having, you know, people who were buying them were saying, yeah, don't worry about that, just board over it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like, board over stuff that's going to cause damp, it's going to rot. It's basically going to be diseased behind the stuff. And in the early days, I was like getting a lot of cheap prices for construction projects. Well under 100,000. Don't think you're gonna get that these days. Yeah, but then later, you know, 2,000 here, 3,000 there, 6,000 there, repairing flat roofs, repairing damp, plaster's got to come off, you know, like redecoration. Obviously, all the hassle in between of, like, you know, tenants complaining and then a bad taste in their mouth and all that stuff. It doesn't, like, cheap today doesn't mean cheap tomorrow, does it, Adam?
No, especially not in these bills, Mark. They're so involved. You cannot cheap out. I've had many clients who go, Adam, just patch that. Oh, don't worry about that bit though. But I'll do that bit, and I'm going to go, no. I'm going, it's not the job for me. I can recommend you a cheap builder, but I don't want to be part of that one. It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it can be like to the advice that these guys are getting, like, oh, spend 15,000 on a refurb here, or they might be swayed as well. You know, because I'm going to ask you in a minute what people say to you when they come to you. They like, oh, but I seen on Instagram that this guy, you know, did a renovation 15,000, or I see this guy did 20,000. You know, he did this conversion. And like, obviously, a lot of people, they're posting like fugazi numbers on there that are just not even freaking real. Yeah. So, but then people get the impression like, oh yeah, you know, if this guy's doing it, like, I can do it at these numbers. What are some of the kind of things that people are coming to you with, Adam, to say, like, can I have prices for this, or ask it where probably their expectations are not there? Because I want you to share this with the viewers here, because people need to have like some, you know, kind of in tune expectations of how to get a job done properly.
Oh, 100%. So like I get people all the time. So one of the recent ones I had was a client. I helped buy or source a building for a client in Derby. And the agent, lovely guy, really just wanted to help, wanted to make his cut of money as well, of course, because I've got builders for you. I said, all right. I said, well, by all means, like, to my client, you get a price from them as well. I'll get my guys to price, and if it's cheap enough and it's, you know, we see some good work, then I don't see any harm in it. And Mark, the price for this build was coming in at multiple builders, so I used 2 or 3 to quote, anywhere from 350 to 450, and his agent had his builder quote for 250 grand. And I'm sitting there going, the materials cost about 200 grand on that build. He was going to get probably the first couple stage payments, rip it out. It's going to look really amazing. The progress would have gone flying. Then when he was piecing it back together, he would have realized, oh crap, I've totally underestimated this job. And they either would have ran, or they would have just dragged their heels bit by bit until you either kicked them off, or you had to get another builder because you ran out of time on the bridge. And it's that kind of trap people fall into all the time. This is why when people come through my funnels and they come to my team vet them first and go, right, guys, if it's a 6-bed, you're going to be spending between 100 grand and 200 grand. Are you all right with that? And most people go, you can feel the fear in them. They're like, nope, they don't even make it to me. The ones who make it to me are the ones who understand to get a quality product, you got to spend the money. But we have the game plan to then refinance it back out on the back end, as you know.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that also, Adam, it's coming from people not really understanding. You know, like they'll go to a little webinar, or they'll get, you know, something, you know, half cooked, you know, how to work numbers out and all the rest of it, but it's just surface level stuff. So then when it comes to the real business of like cost of lending money, the cost of, you know, having a, what's it called, like a contingency, because these things happen, you know, like I've never seen a project yet that just, I'll tell you what, Adam, the only time people didn't add things on to the build, which then they thought, oh yeah, we're doing them a favor because we're not. Now the builder can't survive. Yeah. Now the builder can't like cash flow their business properly. And that's another thing when people come to negotiate with the contractors, with the builder, with the PM. It's like there becomes a point where like it's not going to be worth it for them to do it. So like, what is the incentive to pull through the crap when it starts going wrong?
And that is it. I always say to people, like, you know, it's got to be a fair price. Everyone's got to win. Everyone's got to be able to eat off it. You know, if the builder doesn't earn enough money on it, there's no money for me to get paid, and the client's not getting the result they want. What are we doing here? Because you're right, Mark. If the builder gets halfway through and he gets a better offer, you can guarantee that site's getting left to the wayside. It might get done, but it is not their priority because they're out earning the big bucks on the sites that you're actually paying. You know, the client appreciates the work. And we all know this in investment. We always know this. And with my clients, Mark, one of the biggest things I always hear is we're on a tight budget. And I understand being an investor as well. I get it. We've got numbers to hit. But it's got to be relative to the size of the project, you know? If the age-old saying comes to mind, if something's too good to be true, it probably is. And definitely in building, it's 9 out of 10 times the case.
But then I think people have also, and I'm interested to see what advice you can give to people here. They've got to look out for the, you know, there's these types of contractors that they'll like we call it dangle the carrot. You know, they'll give a cheap price, but then soon enough they just start adding on, and in some cases it's even more than the other people priced as well that then they didn't go with. Yeah, that's one type. But then there's the other type who would obviously do it properly, price it properly, communicate clearly throughout the project. You know, that's obviously the ideal situation. But then there is another scenario where it's like you can't just say, oh, they're too cheap, they're going to add on later. Oh, these are charging, you know, a premium, they must be good. You know, that's not always the case as well, because sometimes if builders do have a lot of work on, all of a sudden their price starts creeping up. That doesn't mean like more quality, you know, because the reason they're pricing it high is because they've got plenty of work on, which means now, do they have the scalability to manage many projects? So what are some things that we could help the people with so that they can kind of navigate through this?
So one of the big things there is, especially on these older sites we're working on, a lot of these houses we do in Victoria, aren't they? So one of the things you can do is agree with your builder up front. Go, look, if there are any variations come up that they're going to eat into the contingency, what's your margin we're going to agree on them? And the builder might be a bit taken back, like, what? That's my business. But this is all separate work. You know, as far as we're concerned, the builder's happy with their price, client's happy with the builder's price. So it's going, right, it's having that awkward conversation up front going, if anything does crop up, and it's probably going to happen on a builder this size, what's your agreed margin rate you're going to put on top of the variations? So let's agree it up front. And then it's crystal clear, right, I'm going to put 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. Then it's right, okay, right now, before any variations crop up, before you do any of the work, please email me in writing with exactly what it needs, what the price is, and how much extra time is going to add onto the job. And then once I authorize it, then you go ahead. Because at the end of the day, you might have some, you go, in that exact situation, builders go, I don't want to do that part of the work. It's a nightmare. It's a dirty job. I've got to dig up 80 meters of sewage pipe or whatever they've got to do. I don't want to do that. And they'll price it through the roof. And you go, that's absolutely fine. I'll go find the right guy to do that. You carry on with everything else. It's not going to slow us down. So rather than paying the builder $5,000 to do $1,000 worth of work, you can go find a person who specializes in that bit of work and get them to do it. You know, rather than arguing with the builder at the end or midway and falling out of them. So always have an awkward conversation up front is, what are you going to charge on your variations? How are you going to present them? And how are we going to agree?
That is some great advice. So let us know in the comments if you guys have got any questions. We can answer here live, even if afterwards. I think we've had some trouble in some places where we're supposed to be streaming, technical difficulties, all that. We'll have to figure that out another time. But yeah, let us know if you've got any questions here. It looks like people are trying to make their way over to viewing this now. But yeah, and we can answer them live. Yeah, so that's a really good, cool thing. Like if there is variations, agree that what their margin is going to be. Now, is it normal to like then agree like, hey, if you got this margin for the entire project, if there are any variations that come up, that basically you can have a reduced rate or even do it at cost? What do you think the viewpoint might be with that?
Yeah, there is some of them things, Mark. Like I've just come back from Derby, a similar situation where we're on a quite large site, and a lot of the variations have been done at cost. You know, because we know this is a repeat client. My builder on it, he knows that. Literally, I've just agreed another deal for the same client this morning. You know, so it's that longevity game. It's going right. let's not make a load of money on this steel that needs adding in, or these set of stairs that need replacing now all of a sudden. Let's get them as close to cost as possible. Builder's not going to lose any money. Client's going to have to pay it, of course, but it's not horrendous. It's what the builder's paying, because there's enough margin in the job. If it becomes a huge job on something, then sometimes there's a give and take. So sometimes we'll make a deal with the client. It'll be like, look, right, you pay for that part of it, and I'll cover this part of it, because there's enough in the job for it. It's worth their time. But when the builder's screwed down from the start to a really ridiculously cheap price, there'll be none of that. It's about that blips around, then they want to make all their money on the variations.
Yeah, and that's actually, then they start popping things on there to actually cover their ass in the first place. Because there's another funny thing, and obviously I've been in a trade from a very young age, from like building sites since 12 years old. Yeah, and it's like they sometimes get to a stage where like like almost desperate, like I've got to get this job. Yeah, so they'll kind of like scrape through or negotiate a deal that's not really favorable for them. But then once they've started, now if work starts to pick up and they have got other jobs, they kind of like lose an interest in this one that they took on just in the interim. Yeah, so there are a few different factors that people have got to consider. Yeah, but now let's take it step by step. Like, what are some of the parameters that we should set up front? Because we know, like, look, we've got to have a defined spec so builders can quote on the same thing. That was big mistakes that people make in the beginning. They have one conversation over here, one conversation over there. People are pricing on different things. I mean, how do you compare what the market rate is to do with such a job? So like, once we've got a defined spec, we're starting to get the quotes. What are your other tips, Adam, that people should be paying attention to or get lined up to start a successful project off? Because if it's wrong, you don't actually see it's wrong till further down the line. So how can people make sure they start off properly?
So one of the things I always got taught when I very first started this game from my mentor Ray, when Adam, whenever you have a builder on site, subby, main contract, whoever, right, before you do the work, you walk around talking through the schedule of work, and you get to the end and you go, right, you understood what I said, right? And they go, yeah, of course I did, Adam. I'm like, I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm like, I've got it. And then you go, cool, here's the spec. Do you mind just walking me around and telling me, just so I understand that I've portrayed it correctly to you? Because I might have made a mistake. You might have misunderstood me. And it's a really uncomfortable thing to do with builders, because they're normally quite burly blokes. And like, I don't teach them to suck eggs. But I need to, dude, it's just for me. It's my own peace of mind to make sure I've done my job properly for you. And it's when you walk around, I guarantee, Mark, every time they rush through it and you go, oh, what about that wall there you got to take out? Do you bear in mind that's quite a big steel, and you got to do a pad foundation in the floor and all this and that? Oh no, I didn't see that. No. Oh, and did you notice the loft? You're actually gonna take the whole roof off. You're not just gonna keep the front on. Oh no, I didn't notice that either. And it's all these things where you're mitigating these problems up front before you get on site and they start whacking you with massive extras or doing the job wrong, and then have to knock it down and go again. Hopefully not the whole house, but parts of it. And it's they want to make their money back somewhere. They're not satisfied it's their mistake, especially if the price is cheap already, which that kind of builder probably was too cheap. And now they're really trying to claw their money back everywhere they can. That's when you're going to start getting like price of £1,000 to skim another room, and it's like a tiny box room or cupboard, when the price is clearly sky high, but they're clutching at straws to get it back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a tough gig when you start it off that way and then trying to figure it out. So, like, if we get that bit right, the spec is right, if then they can tell us that, yeah, this is what I've understood from you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it enough security to say, to know that you're going to get the job done, if you can now just agree in your contract that you are providing, let's say, a fully licensable HMO? That way, obviously, it's got to be all up to specification, building control, and so on. Is that enough protection for the investor?
No. Even the investor needs to know what they're doing to be able to check up on site, ideally weekly, especially at the start, because that's where a lot of mistakes that can be rectified early on are going to be made. Or they need to find someone like myself who can run the site for them, who can honestly and unbiasedly say, right, that was right. Oh, but they did that wrong. We're going to make them redo that. Yeah, it's a bit of a skill, Mark, is you don't know what you don't know. Now, everyone knows what a house should look like at the end. Very few people know what it should look like in the middle. You know, because I didn't myself when I first started this game. It was like, I remember climbing up into the roof when my guy was doing a loft conversion going, is this it? Are you sure that's right? Are you sure that beam goes there and that wood goes there? And they're going, boss, it's fine, it's fine. And then meeting with building control, understanding what they want to see. It's all these little bits that you just don't know until you get into it. And you can either learn the easy way or the hard way. I mean, the hard way is when it goes wrong and you've got to sort it out. The easy way is learning from someone else. So I say to my clients, you know, do your first 1 or 2 projects with me at the very least. Then if you want to do your own after that, feel free. You know, I wish you all the best. But at least get some base knowledge so you know. So you know when it's right, you know when it's wrong.
Yeah. So, you know, because some people, they kind of just, and the reason I ask that question, because some people fall back, they're like, oh, you know, it's in my contract that they're going to figure it out and all the rest of it. But like you said, that's not really going to secure, like, this is where people run off. Because they'll find at the end, they're like, oh crap, I can't really pull it together. I can't pull it off. And that's where, you know, and that's where when like the untrained eye only starts to say, oh, it's not coming together. Yeah. So here's another question, you know, because a lot of people, the builders are their own project managers. So they'll say project management, yeah, not a problem. We got it. Yeah. But Adam, I want to know from you, and because people are, oh, you know, what, to have another project manager? Oh my God, that's like, you know, more money. Why would I do that? Yeah, like, so what are the advantages, disadvantages of having project manager who is actually part of the company, or someone who's a project manager who it's not their company, it's not their build team, but it's someone obviously they use or partner with? What are the pros and cons of that?
We'll start off with the in-house project manager of the builders. So it is good that they have someone, because most builders won't have anyone. So it's a good tick straight away. It's a good positive, you know. Let's say they've actually got that to that level of organization where they go, you know what, we recognize we need someone to run the sites and do all the in-between. That's brilliant. You know, I always look at it as you've got your normal builder on the high street, and that's one step up. You're in the middle between the big boys. The problem is it's a conflict of interest. Is that project manager really going to call you up and go, Mark, you know what, we totally ballsed up on site. We messed this up. It's totally wrong. You know, I don't know what we're going to do. You're never going to get that phone call from that project manager. And now, if you have a third-party project manager, you're going to get everything. You're going to get the good, bad, and the ugly, because they work for you, not for the builder. You know, so they've got your interest at heart. It's like a solicitor. You wouldn't have a solicitor when you're buying a house do the legals for you and for the seller, because who do they work for? And that's what it comes down to here. Is if I go on the site, you know, I'm not there to please any of the builders. You know, I'm there to be friendly with them and polite, and I want to have a good relationship. But at the end of the day, the client pays me, so I'm there to go, you know what, mate, that's not quite good enough. We need to rectify that. You know, I don't want the client to have to get involved in this. This is why I'm here. You know, you've got like impartial view on it then, as opposed to, like, say, the builder's own project manager going to protect the builder at all costs, because that's who pays them.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I think what people have got to consider is that this whole non-bias thing, you know, like you said, if the project manager is in there, you know, they're going to be a little bit biased. You know, if someone is basically a third party, it makes all the difference. Yeah, and not only does it make the difference, like you said, it's like, well, if they're not doing the job the right way, or they're going to charge too much, then we go and see if there's someone else. You know, we go and see if there's another contractor or another person who can finish that and pull that all together. And one of the biggest things that I find, like, if you have a project manager who's not part of the construction business, is like it actually helps the builder, because, and obviously this is what we want to do as investors. Like, I want the builders to have all the support that they can, because sometimes builders are very good at doing the construction, but they're not very good at like client management, or like client expectations, or the communication of, you know, how things come up and how to solve them and all the rest of it. So by having, it's almost like a mediator, you know, like project manager / mediator, to make sure, you know, things can go well. Because I remember I had a new build, it was going way pear-shaped. Yeah. And it's like, in the end, I had to become my own project manager. of the place, because the project manager was just, ballsing things up. Cost was going crazy, time was going crazy. The freaking bank would come out. Yeah, at one point the bank came out and said, "Yeah, sorry, that's it. We lend you no more money."
Bloody hell.
Like you guys don't know what you're doing. Now that wasn't the official wording that we received, but that's basically what they're saying. Yeah, but that can be the cost of, because the reason why I share this with everybody here is because I want, like, to be like, oh, what, they want 2 or 3 grand every phase of my, build, or whatever the price is. But like, yeah, but if this person can save you the headache, the bridge, like that project, I paid 35 grand in interest that wasn't accounted for. Like, the build took so much longer. There was £35,000 of extra interest. Yeah, and I've seen it recently as well, £58,000 of extra interest because of balls up and time and all the rest of it. And what do these guys do? They just fold and set up again as someone else. That don't protect the investor. So I think this is why this is the Business and Property Entrepreneur podcast, because if you're going to set it up as a business, this community that we have here is all about businesses working together. And that's why I like working with you, Adam, because I know your reputation is worth more than the money that I pay you.
100%. You're only as good as your last job, aren't you? With anything.
Yeah. But what I want people to understand is what I just said. Like people listening, wherever you listen to this, or hear this or see this, is like, you actually want to work with people where their reputation is worth more than the money you're paying them. That way they don't make silly decisions just for the quick buck, because they're like, hold on a second, there's a long-term brand that they're protecting, and a long-term, next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 jobs down the line. Because obviously, like you say, if you things go wrong.
Like you said, no site goes perfect, does it? Ever? I've
never seen one yet. I've never seen one. Like, anybody who says, yeah, it went perfect, all the rest of it, either weren't there, or just ain't paying attention to the money. Because there'll always be the changes, the twists and the turns and all the rest of it. But, as we know, we're in a problem-solving game. And that's all we've got to do, to solve problems. That's what it should be called, not project management. Problem management.
Pretty much where clients need you most, isn't it? That's where I earn my money, Mark. When it goes well, I'm kind of sat there just going, good job. It's when it goes wrong, I go, right, let's get it done. Let's go.
But there's the words that not a lot of people will say. When it goes wrong, not if it goes wrong. It's when it goes wrong. I mean, look, anybody who ever comes to any of our community or training or anything, Adam, you obviously know yourself, like, I'll be like, hey, listen, it's all going to go wrong. Now, by the way, we ain't here to teach people or help people what to do when it's going fine. You can do it by yourself. The builder knows what he's doing. The solicitor knows what they're doing. The broker knows what they're doing. The value, everybody knows what they're doing when everything's going well. It's when it don't go to plan, when it starts going south, sideways, round and around. That's when you're going to need to know how to be a proper leader. Because leadership, that's another thing that's not really taught in this industry, isn't it, Adam?
No, never. You never really hear people say about it, do you? You hear people just go, get the cheapest price, get the cheap houses, get the tenants paying the most money, and that's all you hear.
Yeah.
You say, you don't hear it's a business. It's a real business with a lot of money floating around, and it's got to be run just like anything else.
Yeah, I actually heard that a lot of people, they put their money into like these buying off plans, saying, oh, when it's done you're going to get X amount return and so on and all the rest of it. And like often, I'm not saying very often, I don't know the exact percentage, but these things, they don't get seen through. Why? Poor business, acumen, poor leadership, and basically then that filters down to the project management and all the rest of it. Because I've seen people use contractors, Adam, and they said, oh, they did a terrible job. But then someone else would do it and they say the job was fine.
Yeah, they can't see their own flaws, can they?
Yeah. So what would you put the difference down to?
In my experience, it's lack of organisation from the client side. Because the builder can only do so much with what they're given. If the client has no input, want to be really hands off, but doesn't guide from afar what they want, not super clear. I have all my clients do a design guide, I agree on my spec, agree the layout, so I do another first fix layout, make sure it's all perfect for them. If they don't do any of that and they just leave with the builder and come at the end, they're always going to be disappointed because the builder's going to try and fix things their way, and it may not be your way, because a lot of it comes down to personal preference. So the builder may think the client doesn't care, so I don't care either. Let's get it done and get gone.
Yeah, and that's why I love working with people like you, Adam. Trained, they say like-minded people. I don't believe in that. Like-minded, when it's going well, fine. When it's not, and then you're all in the gutter. Yeah, but trained people, they can pull each other out of the crap. Trained people, and by the way, investing yourself. Yeah, but you're trained. So working with people like Adam, anybody who's got any projects. I mean, I don't want to get you bombarded with people just asking you, random questions here. But if you're serious, if you've got projects, then definitely you got to reach out to someone like Adam, who is trained, who invests himself, who gets the ins and outs, who's going to tell you the realistic time frames, the realistic prices, the realistic problems and challenges and obstacles that possibly could come up, because you've got to know about these things and be that liaison. Like you say, sometimes the client's a bit all freaking all over the place. I mean, everyone's finding their way,
Yeah, everybody's doing it at the start, aren't they, Mark? That's the thing. They really are. Everyone's learning the way through it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Here we got a question here. What is the hardest thing to sort on site? Services that are out of your control?
Oh, that's a really interesting question, actually, because I'm sure you've dealt with this many times, Mark. Is utilities can be one of the biggest nightmares, because that is 100% out of your control. That I find most companies, if you're organised, they're okay. It's utility providers. I find, I probably can't mention many names, but some gas and electric providers trying to get a new meter. We battled for 5.5 months on one of my own sites one time. We literally didn't rent the house for like 3 weeks after it was done because of a gas meter. And I'm sat there going, we've been on an emergency call out for the last 6 weeks. I've escalated this, I've done this, done that. I remember just pleading and going, guys, what's it going to take to get a bloody meter in that place? I was like, you're not earning any money out of me because there's literally no meter in the building. I said, I want to pay you my money. So they can be a nightmare. And I say that following a close second in that is the party wall. Neighbours and party walls. If you have a tricky neighbour next door and you don't keep them in the loop, my God, you're going to know about it.
Yeah, I got one for you that you could have never foreseen. Yeah, until it happens to you, which it happened to me. Yeah, so obviously we buy this property, we do it on a bridge. We set 12 months aside, but we think we can do it in 6 or 9. Yeah, and then we turn it into 6-bed HMO, and then we need to upgrade the water supply, which has happened before. Yeah, that's happened before, so that's okay. Yeah, we understand that process. But then when we apply to get it done, they're like, oh, this is some category road. Yeah, which means because it's like on a school route. Yeah. So they're like, we can only shut this road down. Like we can only put temporary traffic lights on this road in school holidays. And we're like, you what? They're like, yeah, we can't do it. Like, even if we wanted to, we can't do the work until it's a school holiday. So we're sitting there, and on that project, we actually went over the bridge, because there's just nothing we could do. Like, what can you do if they're saying that's it? You just literally can't have the permits, to get the road, coned off and all that. So here's the thing, these problems, that you guys are asking about, how do you plan for that? Yeah, I don't know if you're asking about what I'm saying here, but here's how we plan for it. This is why I teach the multiple strategy. Yeah, it doesn't have to be different strategies. It can be HMOs, but multiple deals. When I first started, people were like, oh, start with a buy to let. Oh, don't start with that because that's too much work for you and all the rest of it. Either I was delusional, thick, didn't listen or whatever, but I'm glad whatever it was the result, because then we got the taste for doing multiple deals all at the same time. And then when one doesn't work like that, the ones that did work, they offset it. Yeah, like that one I told you about earlier where the new build went all terribly wrong. Well, luckily I was doing a flip as well at the same time, and we just did a sales bridge, something called a sales bridge. So basically they'll give you a bridge at now the higher rate, the higher value, because obviously we've done the work, so the house is worth more, but I can't wait to sell the house because that's going to take ages. who knows, you know, the buyers, they got to get the freaking mortgage, give the pay slips in, all that jazz. Yeah, so we get the sales bridge where they said they give us a chunk of money so we can pay the builders and carry on. That was when the other lender pulled out. So hopefully that answers your question. Let us know in the comments if that's what you're asking about. Yeah. So just before we start wrapping this up, Adam, any other kind of major things that's happened that people should look about? But also, like, many people might be scared now. Yeah, they're like, oh Jesus, I knew I shouldn't have done property and investing and all the rest of it. Yeah, but like based on all your journey that you've been through, and I know yeah, it's been a long journey since 2019. Can you remember Heathrow?
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I still got the picture. I still got the thing. You standing up on the mic and all of that jazz. Yeah, but like even though there's twists and turns, there's ups and downs. Would you have ever not wanted to do it?
No, there has been moments in time where I've second guessed my decision, but then I'd always look at where I've come from to where I've got to at that stage and realised there was nothing that else would get me to this level in that time period of financial freedom, plus my own personal journey of growing as a person. Because you have to learn so much if you're going to be successful at this game, and you'll learn it through the way. Like I said earlier, you'll either learn it but the easy way or the hard way, but you're going to learn it if you're going to scale in this business.
Mm-hmm. And I know you've made millions through your construction and the project management and how you've evolved that business over time. And that is a way that you can make money, like cash monies, sooner as well in your kind of property portfolio, let's say journey. Yeah, we did well over 7 figures from sourcing deals and managing deals while building our own, multi-million pound portfolio as well in the beginning. Yeah, but I tell you why I think it's worth it, and people should have started to. They say, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years and all the rest of it. Question is, when's the best time to start investing in property? I say 200 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been freaking awesome time. Yeah,
I wish it would have been buying a house before I was born. Would have been a millionaire way quicker.
Yeah, like the generational thing and all that. So, but here's the thing. Obviously, we can't go back in time. If you work that out, let me know. But what people always talk about, they talk about cash flow. And I'll be honest, if you sometimes look at the cash flow, you sometimes think, is it worth it? Just to get, this few hundred quid here, then 1,000 here, and so on. I mean, for some people, yeah, because it depends where they are in their life. But other people who are earning maybe 4, 5, 6K a month, some people 10K a month in great, fantastic, fancy jobs, but they know they need more, or they know there's more to the 9 to 5 or to the corporate thing. I want to say this. Yeah, I make more money from repositioning my assets than I do the actual cash flow. Yeah, and I'll just give you one example. Yeah, if you guys want it, in the chat, let me know in the chat if you want it. I could give you one amazing example. One of my properties, yeah, it makes £25,000 profit. Yeah, which by the way is a fantastic property, isn't it? Yeah. And all the money was out of the deal. So some people might just leave that and say, yeah, I'm quids in, happy days, thank you very much. Yeah, but obviously over time, this 9-bed, it's like a 9-unit property, goes up in value. So actually I look and there's £417,000 worth of equity. Yeah, so if I work out cash flow, 25K, we work out the ROI, which is basically the annual cash flow, divided by the money that's in, or the equity that's in, the return is only 6%. Yeah, the return is only 6%, which is low based on, our returns that we're getting across our portfolio. So I'm like, we can't have that. Plus the 25K at some point, yeah, I can be creative. Yeah, I can do tax efficiencies and claim written expense, write expenses off. But at some point, I'm going to have to pay, because that's not the only property in that company, right? So I'm going to have to pay some tax on that. Yeah, unless what I do is reposition. So if I want 100 grand, Adam, yeah, it's going to take me 4 years. Yeah, but it will take me more than 4 years because I've got to pay tax, corporation tax, then I have to pay dividend tax. So corporation tax is 19. But if I'm making over 50K, it's, goes up to like 21 up to 25K, 25%, which is ludicrous. And then I got to pay the 8.5% dividend tax. So I'm going to pay a decent amount of tax. So it's going to basically take me about, to get 100 grand, it's going to take me, maybe 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
about that.
6 or 7 years, yeah? Or what I can do is go back to the bank, refinance it. Basically, let's just say worst case scenario, 7% interest. For every 100 grand, it's going to cost me 7 grand. So I can pull 100 grand right now, not wait for 6 years. Yeah. Plus, they can't tax that 100 grand, and they won't tax it because it's debt. It reduces my 25k profit down to what, 18. Yeah, which is still fine. And if I want another 100k, now I can have 200k and take my profit down to like 11k. So I still make 11k a year from the property, but obviously, I'm paying more interest now. But now I've got the 200. Now, if I can use that 200 and even just get a measly freaking 10% return on it, then boom, I'm getting another 20k a year as well. Yeah, so like the repositioning of funds, guys, anybody listening to this, you make more, you can, and I make more money from doing that than the actual cash flow that's hitting the bank every month.
I remember Mark seeing one of the tribe members actually before. I remember he had quite a large portfolio. You'll know what I'm on about. And he refinanced out. I think it was something crazy, like 800 odd grand in one hit. When he restructured the portfolio, it wasn't because he needed the money, just because he knew he could use the money better. I remember looking at it, thinking that's insane the amount of cash flow you can make off the back of that.
Yeah, and even when you don't do any improvements to your properties, just maintaining. I'm just talking about general freaking residential. I'm not even talking about money-making machines that add value to society, by the way. Because some people are, oh, you're just all about the money. No, it's not all about the money. I freaking change people's lives by providing them great accommodation consistently. Some people in my HMOs, they stay there for like 4 years. If it wasn't high standard, they wouldn't do that. Yeah. So between 7 to 12 years, house prices double in this country. So like people could sit back and wait for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years and do nothing, and already they just lost money. But they don't see it as they lost money because they didn't get started. Yeah, and that's why we wanted to bring this episode to you, so you guys could hear, from myself, hear from Adam here, that look, things are going to go wrong. You're going to hear all of the horror stories. But I don't know about you, Adam, but my biggest number one horror story would be the same.
100%. And it's missing out what you could have done, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to be the same, or I don't want to coast. I think I found myself coasting. But we're very similar. We come back from backgrounds of not having a lot of money, not really having. I don't know about you, Adam, but I didn't have no support. Nobody taught me how to be an entrepreneur. Fucking school didn't. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's people who are going to have teach us that. But by being around business, by getting into business, by getting mentoring, by getting coaching, by getting training, I think that's helped me tremendously. Yeah, and some people, they're just like, oh, yeah, why do I need anyone to tell me what to do? That's the wrong idea, my friend. This ain't school. The head teacher says, sit down, stand up, go to this lesson, go to that lesson, and all that jazz. It's about collaboration. So is there any final words of advice that you would like to give to people, Adam, before we wrap up today?
Final words of advice is always check your builder. If a builder gives you a 1-page, 2-page quote on a 150 grand project, like, just run. Please just run. It's not going to go well. Just cut your losses there and find another builder. That is like my worst nightmare. When I get a quote like that, it's like just straight in the shredder. Gone.
Love it, Adam. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming on, spending your time here. I believe we're going into the mastermind for the Real Life Tribe. It's our private community where now we can we don't have to be politically correct in what we're saying, so we don't get shut down or anything like that. So we go into there and field some questions and help people move the needle forward. So we've got a 15-minute break there, Adam, before we do that. But I really appreciate you coming on, and I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from what you've shared here.
No problem at all, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, great stuff. So thank you, everyone. Look, free resources available at reallife-group.com. Go ahead and see what we got. Get the book, get the video trainings, get whatever, read the articles, just do something to get your ass moving forward. And for those that want to come and do some live hands-on training, which Adam started out as well. Actually, yours was a 1-day event, right?
No, 2-day event. First one.
2019, it was 1 day. Did it feel like 2 days? Is that what it was?
I got there a day before. That's why, yeah. It was 1 day.
But now it's a 2-day because we were cramming too much into one day. So now it's more hands-on 2-day. The next one is in the is it the 13th? Yeah, 13th and 14th of September. So DM either the Facebook or the Instagram if you want to get more details on how to get there, or just go to the website. I think you can register from there. But yeah, thank you very much, Adam. Thank you everyone for listening. Till next time, do the right thing for the right reason, because it's the only way you will discover your true potential.